Welcome back. Day 76, sort of patriotic if you live in the United States. Yesterday, a nice breakthrough as I talked about of not waiting till the next morning. And um, so now we're moving ahead. I still have got some things to clean up there. Um, about Noble and that whole thing of why, if they've got enough agents to cover it. And I can't see it on the screen right now because I'm looking at that Charlie for East, which is the end of his dialogue. Um, Excuse me. But anyways, back in Hogan's car. What? Oh, back in Hogan's car, we're again having this conversation, which is morphed from the original, but is still kind of that idea that Hogan is wondering why Holly is a U.S. Marshal and why didn't you try to be the FBI? So obviously he's done some research on her, which is a little bit weird, um, a little bit stalkerish, and who knows how he found this out. He could have. I mean, it doesn't matter, I guess. And hopefully it's realistic that he could have done some sort of background checking on her. But while it kind of seems creepy to her, I think maybe somewhere in the back of her mind, she is thinking, wow, he took some time to do some research on me. And again, that could be creepy. Hopefully not. Okay. So this dialogue is, this is the first go around at this new take on him asking her these questions. And so I thought, why wouldn't she immediately turn it around and say, basically, who are you to talk? Yeah, sure, you work for the FBI, but you're just chauffeuring me around and, playing kind of glorified babysitter. And so this, even though, it's Hogan doesn't appear basically until the halfway point. I guess I'd have to look. So he's sort of late to the party, and yet there's going to be, and there is some, what I think is sort of interesting stuff about him. Obviously, he's a minor character, but really, this movie has very few characters, and which I know is kind of obvious to you. But the good thing about that is you can really give each character his or her own voice a little bit better, and you can give them backstories a little better. You can spend more time with them. When I read scripts that have 10, and 10 doesn't sound like that many, and certainly speaking parts, you could have 15 or 20 or 30 if it's some big movie. But if you think of trying to develop 10 characters, that is a lot of characters. So in almost all the scripts I've written, not that this is any big thing, but I recognized at some point, or someone told me at some point, look, you need to have fewer characters. And I read scripts all the time that just have 12, 15, 20 characters. And to me, that's just too many. It's just too many. So the point is that by keeping it down, you can pay more attention to them. All right, so let's back to the dialogue here, back to the scene. So they've just talked about, Hogan is asking her, she's asking him, and they're going back and forth, a little repartee, whatever. And so they're just, look at all those questions. You joined to become a babysitter. You joined them in Marshall, not for much longer. And you, no comment. So again, every line of dialogue hopefully is moving the story forward, revealing character, et cetera, et cetera. So then this gets broken up by Noble talking to Hogan, and he says 2 clicks. Of course, when you hear that, they're talking about kilometers or kilometers, let's say kilometers, and where do you hear the word clicks, cliffhanger? And then Holly deduces it, of course, and so Hogan gives his backstory in literally one, two, three, four, 5 words, which I'm not saying that's an impressive writing job, but I mean, it explains a lot about what's going on. And then we have a little bit of humor there with the Jesus line. And so this really, just in this one scene, they're kind of going to a place of mutual respect, which maybe Hogan had a little bit, and that's why he did the research on her. Plus, physically, he's late 30s. She's maybe a couple years younger. She is not ugly. He is not ugly. And so, maybe, I'm not saying wedding bells are going to chime, but there could be some attraction that way. So this gives the whole explanation of why Hogan's doing what he's doing. And then Holly, which she's not happy about, is figuring that they're not going to get anywhere near the action. That leads him back to, at least in her mind, Paul set this up because he doesn't want her to get in any trouble or any danger, which goes to what Gary had postulated to her. All right, so I fixed that a little bit. It's still maybe a work in progress, but better. Okay, so they're outside the trampoline park, and again, it's not really changing much other than it's happening a lot sooner. So the immediacy changes things in probably mostly Rachel's mind, because she's like wondering why it happened so fast, and the others are too. So sorry, they do have, I mentioned that Noble wouldn't have a bunch of people, but he does have these 6 all right, sorry, contradicting myself. So he's got 3 cars, 2 people in each, 2 agents in each car, and Ace has just given the order, which he did before. So this really hasn't substantially changed, but something might change a little bit more. We don't need that anymore, so I got rid of it. So they're hearing this in the car. They can tell which way the pickup's headed, obviously. Yeah, he says, "Look alive." That's kind of morbidly ironic, considering they all just got killed. And so we find out that they've got ambushed. Now this... All right, I'm going to see if I have... I see... When Holly talks, she says, "with all due respect," which I think she is sincere in saying that. But then how much of a back and forth do I really want them to get into, knowing that the 6 guys have just died, the pickup truck is speeding away, they need to find it, et cetera, et cetera. So I think that was... some more favors from me. See, would he really say that given the situation, or would he want to take advantage of the fact that Hogan and Holly are at least within a distance that maybe they could find the pickup truck and track them or something? So now that's what I'm working through right here in the dialogue. And all right, so it is a fact that they don't have any more personnel on the ground because they weren't expecting it, and all of the firepower isn't going to arrive for at least, Noble was going to probably get more people on the ground tomorrow morning, So now that it's the day before, and these 6 people have just gotten killed, he probably doesn't have many people just sitting there. And so he's scrambling, making calls, getting more agents in. So that's the point I'm kind of getting to. I don't know that I've completely thought it through because, again, this is a new idea. And it's not like I got the new idea of not waiting until the next morning and then sat down and thought through, well, because of that, then da-da-da-da-da-da-da, which probably would have been a good idea. But I just started writing it and then kind of figuring out the logic and the logistics as I go. So Noble's orders to them has changed. Hogan's wondering when they're going to get more people. And now, so I'm not talking because I'm reading to remember what I wrote here. So I'm trying to, obviously, again, it's one of those things where the audience knows that these two, Holly and Hogan, aren't just going to turn tail and run, because that's not how it works in the movies, probably not in real life either. But so I'm trying to get to the place where they are either given permission to engage or go follow them or something. And who is that going to be? Holly who instigates that? Is it going to be Noble that instigates that? Is it going to be Hogan that instigates that? And why does it matter? Well, Holly being the protagonist, you would like her to become more and more proactive as the movie goes on. So that's where I'm trying to get. But right now I'm caught a little bit in this dialogue that I really need to cut down. I also noticed when I did that thing of speeding the timeline up, if you see down in the bottom right now it says 102 pages, which is like 6 or 7 less than it was. And I remember when I was working on this, in the back of my mind, I was like, ooh, I really want it to be more like 105 or 106. And I wasn't worried, but I'm just thinking, I wonder if I'm really going to add pages, or now that I've cut this out, if we're just going to speed toward the airport. So that, that dialogue right there, if you don't let Hogan pursue, this could be over in a matter of minutes. I think that's logical. That sort of makes sense. So this scene, I think, sort of makes sense right now. But we'll see if it gets refined even a little bit more. Because originally, basically, we had Hogan disobeying the command, which is kind of problematic in some ways. Oops, now I've just cut out another bunch and we're down to 101 pages. I should have a contest. Who can guess how many pages this will actually end up being? So this is a little bit jumbled right now because Holly is postulating that it would be a good idea for Salerno to get them away from here, which means they're not just going to drive in a pickup truck for a few hours. They're going to come and get them in a plane. But are they going to come to Wright City, which is basically where they held them? Not likely, which of course brings in the other airport. Which, again, isn't new, but being re-explained. I'm just obviously thinking through this as I'm writing it and now reading it back. And again, hindsight being 2020, I know things are going to change more, but I'm trying not to jump ahead and keeping sort of in the moment of when I was writing this. But again, Do they really need to say all of this? Does Holly need to say any other candidates? Does Hogan need to say what he said? Oh, see, that's kind of, to me, lazy a little bit. That line I just wrote for Hogan is sort of lazy dialogue. The question is, do I follow Noble's order or go with your gut, knowing that one could get me fired? That's a little bit better. So now I'm just playing with kind of their relationship, not, you know what I mean by relationship. They're back and forth. So again, this is purely experimenting. If you like it, leave a comment. I haven't mentioned that lately. Share, like, subscribe. I think I've picked up one subscriber since I've started uploading these. But I would love to have, I mean, right now, I think 5 or 10 people have viewed the first few videos, which I'm super grateful for everyone that has. Anyways, day 76 ends with Holly and Hogan in the car. I'm working through some dialogue. Made some progress there. And again, this is sort of the first pass of this whole new version, with the immediacy being more immediate, if I could say that. So I guess so far so good, considering it's been 76 days. Holy cow, how many more will it be? Will I break 100? I don't know if that would be a good thing or a bad thing. But if you watch again, you'll find out, because we all know there's at least one more day in a screenwriter's journey.